Hello and welcome to an introduction to the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, or as I will be referring to it throughout the presentation, FDIPR. My name is Mallory Moore and I'm a staff attorney at the Indigenous Food and Agriculture Initiative, or IFAI. On this slide, you will find my email address. Please feel free to reach out and ask me questions about FDIPR or anything else that IFAI works on. I'd be more than happy to hear from you. My contact information can also be found on our website, which will be listed on the last slide of this presentation. I'm going to start today's presentation with a brief introduction of myself and the organization I work for. Afterwards, we will transition into the basics of FDIPR. Who does it serve and how does it do it? Then we will look at how tribes can get involved, culminating in a brief look at the portfolio of federal nutrition programs and what niche FDIPR fills. Before I get too far into anything, I wanted to present you with some statistics so that you know just who is being served by this program and why it matters. In the fiscal year 2023, FDIPR had an average of just below 50,000 monthly participants. This number is believed to have increased since then. Of those participants, 42% of the household had elders over the age of 60. Of those elders, 81% of them also relied on Social Security, which just further emphasizes the need for this program and the services it provides. But not only is the elder community served by this program, it also supports the nutrition of children, with around 33% of FDIPR households having children under the age of 18. As you and I both know, elders and children are some of our most vital and vulnerable subsections of our communities. Their health and wellness should be of the utmost importance. Additionally, 1 in 10 households that utilize this program have no income. The reason a family may be operating on no income can have nothing to do with the individuals. Oftentimes, tribes are in rural areas where there is not as many jobs, and access to public transportation is non-existent, and people struggle with personal transportation sometimes as well, especially in the FDIPR program, because we know that 1 in 3 households that utilize this program do not own a car. FDIPR is a monthly food box that is provided to low-income American Indian and Alaska Native families. This food box provides protein and grains and produce to individuals, everything someone might need to maintain a healthy diet. And it works. FDIPR is an incredibly nutritious program as well, with a healthy eating index of 84. While most other nutrition programs fall far below that, and the average American diet only scores a 59 on that same scale. These boxes are distributed by administering agencies, which can be an Indian tribal organization or a state agency. Whether a tribe goes through an ITO or a state agency is dependent on personal preference and the relationship the tribe has with the state. Either way is fine. We have already discussed that this is a program for low-income individuals. These income requirements are set by the federal government, and they are currently mirroring the requirements for another federal nutrition program, SNAP. There are, of course, requirements that don't mirror any other federal nutrition program, such as the fact that at least 1 member of the household must be a part of a federally recognized tribe. Also, that the household must reside on or in an approved area near a reservation. You may be wondering how you would know whether you're in an approved area near a reservation. Well, this is going to be determined by the federal government, and any administering agency such as the ITO or the state agency will know their jurisdiction and be able to help any potential clients. Now, that sounds really wonderful, and you're now wanting to get involved. Well, the best way to get involved is to set up your own program. You can do so through a state agency or an ITO, as previously discussed, but either way, there are going to be some basic requirements that must be met. First, any administering agency must be able to store and distribute food. This is a nutrition program, after all, one that centers around getting people food. Therefore, a bedrock necessity of this program is the ability to get people food. Second, they need to be able to manage participant eligibility. They need to know those income guidelines, and they need to know the jurisdiction of their program. Additionally, a tribal member cannot be on SNAP and FDIPR at the same time, so the agency will have to monitor that and ensure smooth transitions for members looking to change. Third, the administering agency must be able and willing to have an open and clear line of communication with the Food and Nutrition Services at USDA. This is a federal program after all, so the federal government is going to be involved. FNS can and probably will serve as a great resource in this program, and creating a strong relationship is a good idea. They are people you can turn to if you have issues with your delivery or with your vendor or any other kind of hiccup. They can also help provide training and support for your tribe as you set up and run your program. Another great resource for the time of setting up and running your program is other tribes, particularly tribes who are similarly situated to yours. Maybe they have similar population dispersion or similarly sized reservations. Any similarities like that where they can say, this is what worked for us and this is what didn't work for us, can be particularly helpful for you. You will need to store and distribute your food. Food storage is a little bit more cut and dry in terms of decision making than food distribution is. For food storage, you will need a warehouse with cold storage to keep your cold food cold and dry storage to keep your dry food dry. Whatever it takes to ensure that the food that is getting to participants is in the best condition possible. Now, when it comes to distribution, you have several more options. For example, you can have a central distribution site, say your warehouse or maybe a community center, where people come and pick up their food boxes. If you have those things, that's really great, but not all tribes do. Your tribe can instead do something like a tailgate site, where you send out the information to participants that this is where the tailgate site is going to be, and they come and pick their boxes up from there. This can be one location, or it can be many across the reservation. If your tribe is more centrally located, there's also an opportunity to do more of a grocery store style pickup where tribal participants can come in and pick items up off the shelf. And then they just have to be ensured that the stuff that they're picking is meeting the requirements of the food program, right? But those are not even the only options. Those options are all require people to come to a different location to get their food boxes. But as we know, Indian country is not a monolith, and neither are your choices in distribution sites. If your tribe is more widely spread and there's not a good way to do pickups, you can also do home deliveries. This is especially beneficial if your program is serving a good deal of elderly and disabled folks. Moving on to other federal nutrition programs, I have listed a very few of them here. This is by no means all of them, but I want to use this time to emphasize the ways in which FDIPR can serve communities that might not be being served otherwise. Let's start by looking at the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. This is probably the most widely known nutrition program across the nation, and it operates fairly differently from FDIPR. For this program to work for participants, they have to have access to a grocery store. And not only that, but they have to have one that is SNAP vendor certified. SNAP has some pretty strict stocking requirements, so not all establishments that sell food are SNAP certified, meaning that you have to have access to certain types of grocery stores, and that's not accessible to everyone, especially people in rural areas who are already living in food deserts, where it can take great distances to even make it to a store. So something like FDIPR might be more accessible to those people so that they can just get the food box at a more close location. Now let's look at something like Women, Infants, and Children, or WIC. This program is incredibly vital to vulnerable populations, specifically pregnant women, babies, and little kids. However, it only serves people during a certain phase of life, pregnancy and when you're incredibly young. So someone who is older and is needing nutrition support is not able to access it. Unlike with nutrition programs such as FDIPR, which can be accessed by individuals at any age. That's all I have for you today. Please follow us on all of our socials and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you and have a great day.